I was born with a unique gift. My blood is a natural antidote, capable of neutralizing any poison. The aloof heir of a powerful family, Damian Blackwood, was bitten by a venomous snake and was on the brink of death. In that critical moment, I sliced my wrist and bled to save him. Only later did I learn that whoever saved Damian Blackwood's life would secure their place as the future Mrs. Blackwood. But the first thing Damian did after inheriting the family empire was drain me dry, then had me chopped up and fed to his dogs. Willow clearly brought the antidote. If I'd just waited 5 more minutes, I could have openly married her. But you had to butt in, snatching her rightful place as Mrs. Blackwood, driving her to desperate suicide. You claim your blood can cure all poisons. I'd like to see how many antidotes your blood can produce now. My blood was completely drained, and I was thrown into a fight pit, my body torn to shreds. My parents, after being driven to bankruptcy by the Blackwoods, both took their own lives, driven to despair. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day Damian Blackwood was poisoned. Mrs. Blackwood looked at me with hopeful eyes. I hear you have a unique medicinal constitution. Would you be willing to save my son's life? I quickly shook my head. Everything they say outside is just rumors. Besides, using blood as medicine, how unsanitary is that? You don't need to worry, Mrs. Blackwood. I heard Ms. Willow Hayes is rushing over with a special antidote. Young Master Blackwood will surely pull through. A faint sense of anticipation stirred within me. Without me to cure his poison, Damian Blackwood wouldn't just lose his chance at inheriting the family business. He'd be lucky to last another month. Mrs. Blackwood hadn't even had time to hide her disappointment when suddenly, a heart-wrenching shout echoed through the hall. Everyone fell silent instantly, not daring to make a sound. A flurry of urgent steps approached from outside the door. Several bodyguards worked together to carry Damian Blackwood in. His eyes were tightly shut, half his arm a horrifying black purple. It was a ghastly sight. The grand hall erupted into chaos. Many people shrieked, backing away. Mr. Blackwood's face was a dark storm cloud, truly terrifying. What good are you useless bodyguards? I told you to protect him closely. How could you let the young master get bitten by a venomous snake? The bodyguards hung their heads, sweat dripping down their temples, but not one dared to talk back. Just then, Willow Hayes was pushed to the front. It wasn't their fault. Damian always said he didn't like too many people following him. A doctor rushed forward, quickly examining Damian Blackwood's injury. Damian's body suddenly trembled violently, and he slowly opened his eyes. It's Willow. She risked her life to bring me the antidote. If it weren't for her, I'd probably be dead already. The doctor eyed him quietly added, indeed. If it weren't for the unique effectiveness of Miss Hayes's antidote, the consequences would have been unthinkable. Hearing the doctor's words, Mr. Blackwood's expression finally softened slightly, his gaze shifting to Willow. You saved Damian's life. You are a great benefactor to the Blackwood family. Tell me, what do you want? As long as it's within my power, I won't refuse. Willow's eyes flickered with a faint light. She stole a glance at Damian, her lips moving, but she couldn't seem to utter a single word. Damian's expression was grim. Suddenly, he reached out and took her hand in his. Dad, Willow is too shy to speak. I'll speak for her. His voice was firmer than ever before. I'm going to marry Willow. I don't care what anyone says outside. She saved my life, and I want to spend my life repaying her. The atmosphere in the hall abruptly froze. Everyone gasped. Willow was just the daughter of the Blackwoods' housekeeper. Though she and Damian had grown up together, her background was simply not respectable enough. The Blackwood family had never once considered her as a future daughter-in-law. Mr. Blackwood frowned, a clear look of displeasure flashing in his eyes. Mrs. Blackwood suddenly spoke, her voice chilling. You want to marry a housekeeper's daughter? Do you want everyone to laugh at the Blackwood family? You are the future heir of the Blackwood Empire. Are you truly unaware of the stakes involved? Damian turned his head to look at Willow, who stood beside him. He made up his mind and slowly spoke. I understand the responsibilities of the Blackwood heir, but I believe managing this corporation requires capability and skill, not clinging to a partner's influence. The position I want, I'll fight for it myself. I won't rely on outsiders. With that declaration, the room fell into a brief, stunned silence. Mr. Blackwood's face turned a dangerous shade of green, a vein throbbing in his temple. I lowered my head, rubbing my fingers, a faint smile playing on my lips. Damian Blackwood, that man, was truly arrogant and heartless to the core. What a pity, he'd forgotten that his father had only managed to turn the tide during the company's crisis back then because the Stewart family had extended a helping hand. At that time, Mr. Blackwood had made a verbal pact with my father, promising my hand to Damian. Good. Very good. Mr. Blackwood was enraged to the extreme, slamming his hand down on the table. Since you're so capable, then I'll grant your wish. Let's see how long you can last. With that, he stormed off in a huff, Mrs. Blackwood hurriedly getting up to follow him. Damian extended his long arm, pulling Willow into his embrace, and solemnly promised her, don't worry, the position of Mrs. Blackwood will always be yours. No one can ever shake it. Watching the lovey-dovey pair, I was about to leave, but Damian's low voice stopped me. Wait. He brushed off Willow's assistants, swayed for a moment, then came after me. He leaned close to my ear, speaking in a voice only we could hear. Stella Stewart, did you come back too? With your memories? Good, you're smart enough to know your place this time and didn't get in Willow's way again. In the last life, if you hadn't interfered and made me lose Willow, I wouldn't have been so ruthless with you. This life, as long as you stay quiet and know your place, I can spare you and the Stewart family. If you want to stay close, let me make one thing clear, you'll never have any official title from me. I subtly raised an eyebrow, feigning confusion. What are you talking about, Mr. Blackwood? The Stewart family might not be old money, but we have our pride. We don't do mistress. I lifted my gaze, meeting his eyes directly. I didn't want him to know too much, nor did I want the bloody vengeance from the last life to bring disaster upon my family again. I glanced down, catching sight of H.'s still darkened arm, and smirked inwardly. He thought a few sweet words could erase the blood debt of the past life? Damien Blackwood truly underestimated me. Once the poison in his right hand flared up, his life wouldn't even be safe. I ignored him, scoffed, and ruthlessly shrugged off his hand. Did you eat something funny, Damien? Because you're clearly out of your mind, spouting such nonsense. With that, I walked around him and quickly left. Unexpectedly, Damien, rushing to grab me, suddenly lost his balance, stumbling and falling to the floor. Willow screamed in terror. Damien. I straightened my cuff, not bothering to look back. Heaven had granted me a new life. I would never let anyone harm me or my family again. Early the next morning, I heard the frantic shouts of the downstairs staff, saying someone had broken in. Willow, her eyes red, stormed in, pointing at me and demanding loudly, "Stella Stewart, you're an heiress of a prominent family, you lack nothing. So why do you insist on fighting me for Damien? Don't you know, he was supposed to be mine?" I sat up directly, my hair still a mess. "Are you mistaken? When have I ever fought you for anything? You." Willow bit her lower lip, tears almost spilling again, her voice full of resentment. "Then what were you two talking about yesterday? After Damien fainted, he kept calling your name." I raised an eyebrow at her, my tone so faint it was almost a laugh. "Didn't he tell you? He's begging me to marry him now." Willow's face instantly paled. She bit her lip, her voice suddenly shrill. "How is that possible? You must have used some cheap, underhanded tricks, you bitch." I was about to explain when she suddenly shrieked and lunged at me, her palm aimed for my face. The next second, that round, white fur ball in the corner shot out like lightning. It viciously bit her wrist. Willow screamed, stumbled back several steps, and plopped onto the floor. I instinctively reached out, wanting to help her up, but the front door was kicked open with a loud bang. Damien Blackwood stood in the doorway, his face cold. "Stella Stewart, how dare you incite this beast to harm Willow?" Damien's dark eyes swept over Snowball, finally settling on me, his lips forming a thin, cold line. I said, "Anyone who harms Willow deserves to die. Why are you all just standing there?" His next words, spoken with menacing intensity, shattered all my illusions. "Throw this beast into the shredder." The two bodyguards at the door immediately responded, lunging forward and seizing Snowball by his small neck. Snowball's eyes were filled with terror and rage, his forepaws desperately struggling, but he couldn't break free from the men's thick arms. My heart leaped to my throat, and I screamed, "Stop!" But a bodyguard held me firmly in place, unable to move. "Mr. Blackwood, it was Miss Hayes who came here to insult my young mistress." Snowball only bit her in defense, one of them I.D.S. spoke up for me. "Nonsense." Willow clutched her hand, her voice choked with tears. "She deliberately raised a mad dog to hurt me." Damien cast a cold glance at me, then bent down to help the fallen Willow. "Get rid of this mad dog, now." Snowball was lifted into the air, his neck visibly twisting. My heart turned cold. I didn't think twice. I just wanted to snatch Snowball back from their cruel hands. Damien Blackwood. Snowball was just protecting me. Willow was the one who provoked first. She was the one who struck out. But he didn't even look at me, casually tossing Snowball aside. Snowball twitched twice on the ground, his neck went limp, and then he was still. I knelt there, stunned, painful images flickering in my mind. In the previous life, Damien had been just as heartless. He bribed a vet, and Snowball was treated like a lab animal, dying on a cold, sterile table. I bit down hard on my lower lip, swallowing back my sobs. "Damien Blackwood, you can't even tolerate the dog I raised since I was a child?" I clenched my fists, my voice hoarse. But Damien was dismissive. "Stella Stewart, I've already shown you mercy by sparing your life. Don't push your luck. My heart has always belonged to Willow alone. If you dare to bother her again, you'll be the next one to die." Damien put his arm around Willow and left without looking back. I lowered my head, my fingernails digging into my palms. Willow looked back and glared at me, her lips curling with disdain and triumph. Damien probably didn't know that he hadn't just killed Snowball. He'd also killed his last hope for life. Forget inheriting the family business. He'd be lucky if the Grim Reaper granted him another month. Snowball's body was already stiff. I trembled as I cradled him, digging a grave in the yard. From childhood, only Snowball had always stayed by my side. Even in the previous life, tortured to death, he never let go of my hand. Tears streamed down my face, splashing onto tea soil. At that moment, the pain was so intense even breathing hurt. "Need a hand?" I looked up, meeting Julian Vance's dark, kind eyes. At yesterday's banquet, besides Damien being bitten by a venomous snake, Julian had also been poisoned. In my last life, my heart was entirely focused on Damien. I cut my wrist and bled to save him, which led to Julian not receiving timely treatment and dying from the poison. But yesterday, I had someone deliver the special antidote made from my blood to Julian in advance. He took it immediately after being bitten, which is why he survived. I wiped the tears from my face. I spoke with utter seriousness. "Julian Vance, interested in a deal? I'll help you ruin Blackwood Incorporated, and you marry me." The moment the words left my mouth, Julian's eyes lit up with surprise. A smile played on his lips, like he'd finally gotten what he'd been waiting for. "Okay, it's a deal. Don't you dare go back on your word."